Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Out of the Pod, the podcast series by The Brief, where we speak to startup founders who dare to dream, build, and grow, and where you get to listen to these leaders talk about their challenges, milestones, and their entrepreneurial journey. On the mic is your host for the show, Sahib Singh, and today's episode, like all our other ones before it, promise something new, promise something fresh, and I'm going to get right to telling you exactly why. Today, we speak to someone who comes from the legal sector in India. And this is the person who has carved a niche for himself by being a founder of a startup which provides legal services and consultancy across the country. And in doing so, he's pioneering change in the sector at large throughout the country with ambitions to go even beyond that. Excited? Well, I don't know about you. I am. The man in the conversation today is Dr. Arvind Singhatiya, currently leading the startup LegalKart as its co founder and CEO for close to 2 years now. And on that note, without further ado, let's welcome our guest to the podcast. Hey, Arvind, how's it going and how are you doing today?
Hi, Sai. Thank you so much for giving a chance to speak on your podcast. I'm doing great. It's a good Sunday morning, and in Delhi it's bright, so it's all the more wonderful. And and it's a great opportunity to talk about my startup, the journey, the company, the concept, the philosophy behind that. I'm excited to discuss more here.
Likewise, and we are actually even more excited than you to hear you talk about the stuff which perhaps led you to drive an established legal card and the kind of change you're willing to pioneer in the sector. So let's get to the thick of things right away. And I'll just start off with my first question. So, Arvind, over the past discussions that we've had, it we you actually told me that Sahib, the legal sector in India is essentially very fragmented and unorganized. So before we get into what legal cart is and what legal cart does, could you sort of guide me through your philosophy on this, that why would you say that the legal sector is unorganized?
Sure, Sai. So, it's very interesting to note that in last couple of years, specifically in last 1.5 decade, there is a lot of evolution that have happened when it comes to technology and technology-enabled services. From early 2004s and 2005s, people have started coming online. There were a lot of services that started coming on the system, on the internet. But it's very interesting to know that since Indian independence, the Indian legal sector and the way legal services are being delivered are still the same in 2020 as well. If I give you a data, I think in India there are 1 million plus legal practitioners, out of which just 2% of them are like tech savvy and using any kind of technology to manage their legal practice or manage their offices and manage their cases and update their clients on online. 98% of the legal fraternity is currently not a tech savvy one. That is number one. And since they are not tech savvy, it's a challenging situation where you cannot find them online. You cannot connect with them. You cannot talk to them. They are available in the courtrooms as well as wherever they're arguing and all. And there is no sync when it comes to finding a legal professional across the country, and that's the reason I said it's very fragmented. A person, a lawyer practicing in Tamil Nadu and a lawyer practicing in Delhi, they are not connected to each other. There is no uniform platform on which they share. In fact, the most interesting part about legal is vernacular. So below high courts, all the courts, the practice is in vernacular language, right? So we have so many languages. We have more than 624 district courts, and every court is practicing in the vernacular. So like South Indian languages, and then North Indian languages, and East Indian languages, and then West Indian languages. So with this much of differentiation, with so much of the differences there in the practice, in the language, in the way they operate in their own silo, making the sector very very fragmented, number one. And number two, it become very difficult to access a lawyer when you need it at a remote place. So that's the reason after 1947 till 2020, apart from lawyers, I think everybody is now on a technology. Now they are available, they are online. In this background, it has now become very imperative that this sector should evolve, should come on technology.
So, Arvind, it's interesting how you mentioned there could be a gap between the service provider and the person who requires the service. And then again, there could be problems like vernacular and communication, which could exist and persist between the two. So, seeing the market veer off in a different way. And there's one thing about capitalizing on the opportunity. Was that the thought process behind establishing LegalKart, or was there something else that was going through your mind that time?
Saib, it's a very interesting story that there is always a pain point, and that pain point and that challenge force you to, uh, see across opportunities that are available, and that you can do something, you can contribute something. Across my career, I have been with companies and was leading their legal and public policy sectors. There was a scenario somewhere in 2014 when one of my office colleague, she and her brother, they were traveling somewhere in Tamil Nadu, and they were in a self-drive car. They were on a vacation, and in the evening, 7 o'clock, I got a call from a frenetic call from them, and she said that Arvind, we are. I don't know where we are actually. It's a very small village in Tamil Nadu. No, we don't understand the local language as well. But we met with an accident, and the guy on the bike is badly injured, and now the police station has, they are holding us in the police station. I tried to talk to the police guy, but even that guy was not, well spoken with English, so we were not sure that, how to communicate with this guy. And that point of time, I realized that, had I been having a lawyer there, he would have definitely taken all the regulatory requirements and would have helped them. And myself in the legal field, I realized that I have so many connections, and but I was not able to reach to that specific village where I can help them. It took 2 hours for me to use all my connections. I talked to a friend in Chennai, and then my friend in Chennai talked to somebody in Coimbatore, and then somebody in Coimbatore talked to somewhere near that village. And I realized that the nearest lawyer available to that police station was around 20 kilometers. At night at 11, that guy, pick up his bike, went to that police station. Then he basically communicated with us as an interpreter, and did all the formalities on the ground. And post midnight, those guys were released from the police station, and the whole village was standing there, because it was a small place, and the guy was injured, and then they were asking for compensation, and there were so many other issues. That incident made me think that me, who is in legal sector for so many years now, well connected in legal, it took me so long to reach to that specific point. I can imagine that what a common man, if he faced a problem and if he need a legal help somewhere at the remotest place in the country, it is almost impossible. You cannot have an access to that. So from there, in 2014, that small incident, I keep on pondering upon it. I keep on thinking about it, and I realize that we need a system, we need a place where at least I should be able to access a lawyer 24 by 7, the way now we can access a doctor 24 by 7. And when we talk about a doctor, I think for medical emergencies, we anyways have a doctor's number on our phone saved, because we are always prepared for a medical emergency. But interestingly, none of us are prepared for a legal emergency ever in our life. And legal emergencies catch hold of us when we are the least prepared. So, keeping that thought in my mind, I was thinking and was working, and at the end, like in 2018, we came to a level where I realized that probably now I have a very concrete thought in my mind, what I should be doing, what we should have in place, what this country deserve, what the individuals now want. And there was a lot of development happened before that. Like, I have seen Ola growing, I have seen Zomato growing, I have seen Practo growing. So these services, when we saw growing and becoming really successful in a country like India, I realized that now it's time for, at least now it's time for legal to grow. Legal service is a mandatory, it's a non-replaceable service. I mean, a legal professional, you cannot replace his service with anyone else. So it's an irreplaceable mandatory service, and it should be now available to you at the convenience of your home, wherever you are. It should be accessible to you 24 by 7. And then, the concept of legal cart came in picture. It's very interesting. The story for legal cart is also, so we planned a name called Legal Dunia before the legal cart comes in picture. So we registered the domain name. We went ahead with designing the website and all with legaldunia.com. But somehow this whole name of Legal Dunia was, I discussed with many of my friends, and they realized that this is good, but we could have better something. There was some sort of dissatisfaction, some sort of reservation about the name. And then my friend and my partner director in the company, Deepak. He's an IIT Bombay. He came up with a name. He said that what if we get a name called as LegalKart? And cart is something which is the most popular when it comes to online businesses, be it Flipkart, Health Cart, Lens Cart, Lending Cart. And the cart is something which hits the right chord. I mean, it's a cart. It's a place where almost anything and everything that you want about legal would should be available. A platform where anything and everything about it. And without giving a second thought, I mean, we just jumped on the name. Interestingly, Legal Cart was owned by some American guy, and he was selling it. We spent a good amount of money to buy this name, but it was an investment worth for the name. And then the whole concept of Legal Cart came in picture.
That's actually a very interesting story. Very, very interesting takeaways as well coming from it as to how you identified a cultural problem, a communication problem, and then, of course, how you identified the legal problem which was persisting there. And to sort of bridge that, you came up with Legal Card. But my takeaway from this is something which I'd probably like to discuss with you is that while it was you who identified this sort of a problem which exists, I'm sure there must have been plenty of incidences with other people as well in the past that perhaps had the same scenario or the same situation, finding people in these kind of situations, right? But not a lot of people have actually taken any sort of initiative where they come up with an idea or come up with a service provision opportunity or come up with a startup for that matter to basically either bridge that gap or provide a service in a different way. And this is something which has been a relatively pan Indian narrative that not a lot of legal startups are coming to the fore. So either they've not been in the public eye or they've just not caught fire altogether. So, do you think this notion holds true? Are we a country where legal startups or law related startups are limited or they're just not catching the public eye?
That's a very, very interesting question, Sahib, and I would like to, address it by saying that entrepreneurial capability, when we talk about in legal, if a lawyer want to start something as a business, the best option available to him is a law firm. So two and three friends, they just come together and form a law firm for themselves. Legal being a very domain specific sector, you need to have a domain knowledge as well. You need to understand the nitty gritties of the sector. It cannot be the opportunity that you need to capitalize on in legal is something can be understood by a person who at least understands the nuances of the sector, who understand the challenges of the sector, right? The biggest challenge, let me tell you that the bar council rules, and the lawyers professional ethics, it won't allow them to market themselves. It won't allow them to advertise themselves. And there is a moral as well as a legal obligation on them that because they are into a noble profession, they should not advertise their services, their name, their anything about them. And that's the biggest reason probably till now nobody have ever thought about how to create a business opportunity out of this. But I should say that it's not about business, but it's about convenience, and access to legal services for a billion people of this country is much more important, and we should change the perspective. We have to start thinking from a consumer's point of view that what exactly he want. I have seen millions of people struggling because they are not getting legal help on time. They are not aware about the regulatory scenarios in which they operate. Parallelly, there is a development that is going on in the legal sector, but that is like people are developing legal products in small bits and pieces. There is a development which is very prominent now in documentation sector, where artificial intelligence based document drafting systems is what many startups are working on. Many startups are working on stamp paper and digital signature as one of the key tool for legal services. Couple of them are acting as a technology where an individual can leave their issues, and probably somebody can come go back to them. But to be very honest, yes, there is a concerted effort as a sector. Nobody is currently looking legal as an opportunity to create an ecosystem over here, where an end-to-end service provider, where an individual and a lawyer and the paralegal services and anything else required for a legal transaction is something currently missing in this whole ecosystem. One, domain knowledge is missing. Second, probably investors are also, since the sector is very domain knowledge specific, and probably nobody has yet able to position the sector as a profitable or as a really need based business. Nobody able to position it. So you are right. There is a lot of gap over here when it comes to converting it as a profitable business venture. Let me tell you that now time has come, and Corona is it's a blessing in disguise. Most of the courts in the country are now running online. Government has a parliamentary committee which is now planning to have a complete set of rules and regulations for online transactions of legal, and they want everything to go online. So, like all the senior judges, right from Supreme Court to District Court, everybody now wanting to hear cases online only. And that's the time when, like I said, the 98% of the lawyers who are offline now are planning to come online because there is no other way around for them. So I think 2020 will be a landmark year when we talk about the legal technology, and it's not just India, but if you see the global scenario, many European countries who were still traditionally operating in their legal are now online, and most of their lawyers have now come online. So it's a watershed year for globally companies who are now looking legal tech as an option to start and operate and build products and services for consumers.
So, Arvind, interesting takeaway from your previous answer. Lots to think about. So, let's just break it down one by one and see where the conversation leads us. One of the first things that I'd like to talk about is that, as you very correctly mentioned, people cannot essentially access legal services easily. That's number one. And second thing, which I'd sort of like to highlight, is that even if somebody can access these services, there is a pain point of pricing, right? And legal services don't come in cheap. If you have the money to afford them, you can pay the top buck and get the top services. But for those who don't have that sort of economic resources lying around, that can be very difficult for them. Would you say that LegalKart is sort of bridging that gap by providing these kind of services? Is there a certain price point? Have you all a different sort of a strategy to go about things?
Very, very valid point, Sahib. And I think before even we understand business, it is very important to understand that if there is any operation, if there is anything which is not a viable thing, then it will never survive. So even when we talk about life, if your inputs is lesser than what your outputs are, you will never be able to survive. So taking the inspiration from life, all the businesses across the world grow. They first make themselves profitable, and then only they will be able to think about serving people and making and giving contributions to the world. So in legal sector, exactly the same thing. We first have to plan a business in such a way that it should be self sustainable. We should not need money, or we should not starve for money, right? And we all know that legal problem is something which is like prevalent across, and everybody has some or the other legal problem. But you rightly mentioned there are costs which are bigger. The access is a challenge, and people are holding themselves back and pushing their problems below the carpet because they think that let's see, when something goes wrong, then we will plan. This was the scenario in medical as well a couple of years back, like 15-20 years back, when medical services were also like people in the rural areas, or even in the tier 2 tier 3 cities. Individuals used to avoid going to doctors and hospitals unless it becomes an emergency, and then once there is a life and death situation, then they used to go to the doctor, and then whatever cost they have to incur, they used to incur, be it by taking loan, etc. Now it is very convenient because there are two things that have happened. Number one, which is very important, that there is a transparency of pricing that have come over there. That now you know that what you are going to pay for what service you are going to take. And number two is accessibility has now not a challenge. So wherever you are, you can access the service. Now these two things have changed the face of business, and it has made it much more viable. Same thing is what we are now planning with LegalKart. Our focus is twofold. Number one is we have to make it a standard service. It should not be ad hoc pricing, or pricing based on your problem size, or your paying capacity. But even if you are a big businessman, or if you are a poor farmer, if you have a problem in legal, you can just come to LegalKart, and you should be at least able to understand what challenge you are facing. We have a very unique product called as Just Consult. Just Consult is something which is a standard priced legal consultation available 24 by 7. You know that what you are paying, and you know that you can speak for 20 minutes or 45 minutes or 60 minutes, and you can discuss the problem with a lawyer with complete confidentiality, because we have a secure line on which all the calls are routed. We are using artificial intelligence, and we have a smart match technology where, based on your problem area, your geographical location, your time of call, everything is attributing the route of call, and it is decide I mean your language preference as well, so that the call will be routed to a specific lawyer, and then your lawyer will discuss your problem with you in detail, and they will suggest you the best possible legal options available to you. Now, this is a viable business, and this is a viable way to do business, because lawyer is also being paid properly. The client knows that he is paying a standard fee, and we as a business, know that how many calls and how many individuals can use this. This is a scalable model. A billion people can use this at any point of time when they need it. So we have addressed the cost part. So the cost which we are currently offering is a very standard and very similar cost, like you are taking an Ola or you are talking to a lawyer. The cost would be almost the same. The access is now convenience, and you can talk to them at any point of time, in middle of night, and any time of your convenience. Now let me tell you that what is the advantage of this, and I would like to share a very interesting example. I would not take name over there because big people are involved in this, but there is an individual from South India. He is a film producer, right? And he was contesting a case against one of the big uh, producers and actors of the country, and there is a movie which is there currently hold. It is not allowed to release by the court. In the middle of August, this guy was challenged this movie's release, because he made a similar kind of movie, and this movie he's saying that is violating his intellectual property rights. So he asked the court to put a stay on that movie. Now all the big names of the country are involved in that big movie, and but this lower court in Hyderabad put a stay on that, right? And this movie producer, before this stay was granted, was facing a challenge on the ground, because he was not able to trust the trust his own lawyers, because there was some because big names were involved there. So he came to LegalKart. He spoke to a couple of our lawyers, right? And he understood what he should be doing ideally in such a scenario. What are the court procedures says, and what is the right thing to do. He understood from them. Then he went back. He just instructed his lawyers that you just do this, rest everything, leave it on me. So he basically orchestrated his case. And let me tell you that since he kept everything, I mean, our system is confidential. You don't need to tell that who you are and from where you are calling and for what purpose you are seeking this advice. You can just go ahead and say, this is my problem, what should I do? So this guy, from a lower court till Supreme Court of India, straight in 3 months, he keep on winning every case. And the movie is still on hold, and he is standing there, and Supreme Court has put a stay on that movie. So you can understand the power of a platform where a person keeping his anonymity and status completely confidential, and he just taking the right legal advice. He spoke to more than 7 8 lawyers on our platform. He spoke Telugu lawyers, he spoke English lawyers, he spoke Hindi lawyers. He spoke in the middle of night at 2 a.m., and he spoke to a lawyer at 10 in the morning, 7 in the morning. Anytime and every time when he was facing a problem, there was a question in his mind, he just used our service. And when he won the Supreme Court matter, he just sent us a WhatsApp message saying that it's the LegalKart who helped me to, sail through this challenging scenario. And that actually established the use case to us as well. We also realized that, oh, this is a very strong use case for anybody who wanting to stay anonymous and want the right legal advice. So this is where we are today. I think we are addressing a lot of issues in just one go: the access, the cost, the quality, the anonymity, etc. Right? And this is how it's growing.
That's actually a great thought to lead with, essentially. Now, and I'm sure you have tons of interesting anecdotes and tons of interesting story regarding Legal Cart as well. And I'm sure we should definitely connect off the record so you could perhaps tell me who the producer was. But moving into a more general direction, I would perhaps ask you that my takeaway from your answer is the idea that there is. Of course, there is a certain amount of price sensitivity which comes with the platform. And do you think, or did you actually experience some sort of a pushback from lawyers while onboarding?
Sahib, it's again a very good question, and it will address a lot of concerns that lawyers may have if they will listen this podcast. So it is very interesting to know that why there are high prices. Imagine 2000 year 2000 or 1990s when we were kids. We used to watch movies on a video cassette, and there was lot of piracy of movies were happening. Then came the DVDs and all, and the piracy was at the peak when there were CDs and DVDs. The single DVD for a original movie was costing around 800 and 900 rupees, and a pirated DVD was costing me just 50 rupees or 20 rupees. There was a huge gap when it comes to, and I was seeing the same content. So there was no motivation for me to spend like 1,000% more and watch that same movie. And movie is something which is going to stay with me for like 2 hours and then it's over for me. But then came the digital streaming, and then came the pricing came down to 99 rupees a month subscription and all, and suddenly everything has changed. Now, no, now you will not see pirated movies selling around because people are not interested in that. Now they have an access at a very, cheap or a convenient price that they are ready to pay for it. Now, this is a principle I think applied across. If you are able to generate volumes of users, then price is something which will definitely come down, because then you would be busy serving a lot of people. When there is no platform available, when there is no technology available, obviously whatever the users you have an access to, you really want to make your ends meet, and that's the reason you will charge whatever you think best for you, right? And user have to take a call whether he really wanted to go ahead with the service or not. And all those who are hard pressed and really challenged have no option but to pay for that. But when there is a technology, it is allowing millions of users to use the same service at the same time. It actually help lawyers and service providers to make the ends meet and make good money for themselves by sheer volume of work that they may get from here, right? So once in a month, if they are getting a case, they will definitely charge a 30,000 or a 50,000 rupees. But if every day they are getting smaller number of advisory requests and documentation requests, I think they will be making much more than what they used to make before. So it's the volume that works here, and no need to worry about the cost now, because technology platform actually enable and rationalize the number of users who can access that specific service.
I think that's very interesting to lead with, that the kind of access that now people have will sort of, enable more volume, and more volume means more transactions, which inevitably translates to more money. And coming to the whole aspect of how you mentioned about anonymity as well in your previous answer, and that is something I'd like to touch upon a little bit, that I understand that you're trying to institutionalize the idea that legal services should be accessible to everybody, let's say at a flat rate or a standard rate. But the second aspect here about anonymity also comes with the idea of breach of ethics in, let's say, not just within the organization, but outside the organization, with the lawyer, with the person, because there are 3 to 4 stakeholders, critical stakeholders involved in this. So, are there checks and balances within your system, within your organization, to ensure that there is no breach of ethics in this manner?
Yes, Sahib. So, the calls on LegalKart are highly confidential, right? And the legal ethics also mandate that there has to be a client-attorney relationship, and the discussion between a client and attorney should be between both of them only. So, our system is something which allows both of them to discuss, talk, share whatever they wanted to, talk and discuss. And it depends upon the client if they really wanted to disclose about their identity or not. There is no mandation on them. So the system is like a foolproof system where there is a secure line, and on that secure line, nobody can access that except the lawyer who is getting the call. So it is covered from all the aspects.
All right, very interesting. Now, Arvind, this is something I've been meaning to ask you for the past few minutes now, and I'll just go ahead and get right to it, considering you have so many interesting stories and anecdotes to tell. Is there also a story regarding you onboarding your first lawyer? And is there something interesting going on there? Is there a memorable incident which came with it? If you could just guide us through that, that'd be great.
See, so honestly, onboarding lawyer was not something which is interesting, but yes, our first client for the legal consultation was a very interesting story that we faced. So we started the online consultation somewhere in the month of April when the lockdown was going on, right? And in the month of April, somewhere at like 10:30 p.m. at night. I mean, that was the day. I mean, that was the third or fourth day. There was not a single call that came in. Our marketing was going on. People were seeing the website, but we haven't seen a conversion coming over there. And then at 10:30, we found a payment failure that has happened. Like there was some guy who was trying to make a payment, but his payment got failed. He tried two times, and then his payment again got failed. And then we reached out to that person and said that, sir, I think you are trying for a legal advisory, and you are not able to make a payment. So he said, yes, but I don't have this option of, let's say, Paytm or this phone pay, etc. And I can't pay from the online banking. I don't know. He was from Bihar. There was a land issue with him. We went back and then we said that fair enough. It's our first transaction. We can take it anywhere. I mean, is there anybody in our team who have a Paytm or a wallet or something? Because I was not having that time. So we found someone in our team that yes, he have a Paytm wallet. We told him that, sir, you can make a payment to this name. Now at 11 o'clock, this guy was in a fix. He was not sure whether he has to make the payment or not. That was like, for us, it was our first payment to come in. And this guy was now not very sure that it's not a company name. You are asking me to make a payment to an individual wallet. Will I be getting the advice or not? Because I really want to talk to a lawyer right now because there is something which is happening tomorrow morning. I hope I am making the right decision. So with all our communication and whatever we could have done, we did that. We make sure. So that guy made a payment somewhere 11:30 at night. It was a small payment of 500 rupees, but that was our first thing that came in. At 11:30 he made the payment, and then he said, now I have a document which I want to show the lawyer, and I want to talk now because your service says it's 24 by 7. So that time, since we have started, we were having lesser lawyer available at night. So the second big challenge was he wanted to speak to a lawyer in Bihar only, from his own village, from his own small district only. Then the team went ahead, identified our database, find out a lawyer whom we know very well. We called him like at 12 at night, and we woke him up and we said, there is a client who want to talk to you. He said, boss, this is middle of night. What is so urgent that he want to talk? We convinced him. We paid him double the money what we got from the client, and we said, no, please talk to him because he really want to talk. Then we somehow managed to get the document on a WhatsApp, and then we email it to the lawyer, and the transaction completed somewhere in middle 1:32 a.m. And that was our first client that we got on board. But we were like so hell bent to make this transaction happen that we did anything and everything that was possible in our capacity. At one point of time, I was ready to even pay on his behalf, saying, "Okay, sir, you just make this transaction happen. I'll pay for you." But he was kind enough, said, "No, no, I will make the payment. It's absolutely fine." And then and he was delighted after the conversation. He said, "Oh, your service is really good. At this point of time, I would not have got a lawyer, but you made me to talk to a very good person who understood my problem and suggested me some really good steps. Tomorrow morning in the court, when I'm going, I have, now my arsenal ready." So, that was a memorable incident for us. We realized that it was not the money, but the delivery of service which made him, feel comfortable and delighted. And we were very satisfied that, it was a memorable transaction for us.
That's brilliant, actually. And of course, the whole idea of understanding that, yes, we finally got the job done for the customer, he's happy, and, he's willing to call back and get our service again. That is something which is great incentive for a startup to, sort of go with in its budding years. And, but one other interesting take back from this is the idea of trust. You very specifically mentioned that the person, just although it was a one off incident regarding the payment failure, if we sort of look at it from a broader, more holistic perspective, the idea of trust is very critical to your startup, right? And there has to to be trust between the person using your service and your organization. Then there has to be trust between the person you connect that lawyer to and those two stakeholders. So what sort of challenges have you faced so far in sort of establishing trust between all these kind of stakeholders?
I think trust is the cornerstone, and in medical, in doctors' field, trust is important. But as a patient or as a user of the service, you are aware of certain things, because biology and medical is something which we have been taught at our home, also in our school. Also, we understand a lot about our body, our diseases, proteins, vitamins. We understand everything about them, but nobody understand about section 302, 419. Nobody understands about that. Neither it is being taught in the school. So legal is something which is an absolutely alien sector for anybody, any individual in the country. So trust is the only thing when it comes to a legal transaction. So you have no option but to trust the person whom you are dealing with, and it is our responsibility to instill that natural trust in the user. We are doing all these right things. We are communicating the right messages. We are putting the right processes in place to make sure that at least the trust of that individual should remain intact, and he should be able to trust it more. Our first transaction was something which happened just because that guy was in need, and we were honest enough to talk with him a lot of things which give him trust, that yes, no problem, you can talk to us. You can, at one point of time, like I said, I was about to tell him that no worry about the payment, just talk to the lawyer. But yes, trust plays a really, really important role when it comes to legal transactions, and that's the reason we do a proper rating of our lawyers as well. We make sure that our lawyers also speak with conviction and passion, and give the trust to the client that if there is anything wrong, there are ways and means to make that right. And the website that we have designed is also giving the right messages to the client, that the trust is something which is our cornerstone. If we lose trust, we lose everything. So that's how it is.
So, the next thing which I perhaps wanted to move on to is the idea of that sort of connectivity which needs to exist between the customers, between the lawyers, and your organization serving as somewhat of a middle ground as an interface between the two. Now, your company, your business is very tech driven. Now, this sort of tech driven business, does it come with its own challenges when it comes to not just onboarding customers but onboarding lawyers? Because since it has technology at the base of it, is there difficulty in terms of adaptation or acclimatization to the platform?
That's right. To an extent, for customers is not a big problem now. Thank you to all the technology platforms now prevailing across the country. So like, customer is acclimatized already. He's using Ola, he's using Zomato, he's using Uber, he's using Paytm, etc. So he knows what is online payment. He understands how an app work or a website works. He know what is an online service. But the biggest challenge that we face is with lawyers. Yes, the biggest challenge with them is, since we have a software for them, which is a mobile application and a web dashboard, on which they can not only manage their cases which are currently on, but they also do a lot of things there. They can make a complete database of their existing clients. They can transact with their clients from our platform. They can manage the documentation on our platform. They can accept and make online payments through our system. Our system is updating their cases online in real time. Whenever there is an update from the e-court server, our system is also get updated with new orders, etc. They can keep their notes. They can manage their teams remotely from our software. So our software is a virtual office for them. But the problem is acceptance of that system. Lawyers are still, taking their own sweet time to understand the system, and they have a concern in their mind that I made a client list. I made so many clients after my life's effort went into that, and how can I trust the technology? What is the guarantee that my client list is not went out? Whether the payments on this are safer or not. Can I trust a mobile application or a dashboard for my practice? Can I make my career on this, and all those things? So these are some very relevant challenges and concerns that a lawyer may have. That's the reason adoption of technology among lawyers is something which is taking time. We are motivating our partner lawyers by giving them opportunity to get a lot of work from our system, and they feel if you are getting profitable business from something, then you won't mind trusting that system, or you would like to trust that system, and you would like to learn that how that system works. So see, we are a small startup at this point of time. We are growing with a pace, and as and when we grow little bigger and we'll be having much more transactions, probably those transactions will ensure a lawyer's commitment and lawyers interest towards our system. So as of now, like I said, we have more than 8,000 plus registrations on our website, and we have like 20,000 plus downloads of our mobile app. So there is a lot of interest from the lawyers because it's a new thing. They are learning, they want to use it. But when it comes to putting their actual clients on it and saving their name and phone number and their data so that they can manage it from here, they are still hesitant on it. And our job is to, help them with this kind of hesitation. We have to give them numbers. We have to give them, data that internationally it is just opposite. In a country like US and UK, 98% of the lawyers are on mobile app and dashboard. In a country like Australia, almost 100% lawyers are using a mobile app and a dashboard to manage their practices. So that kind of data also is what we are putting it to them and saying that, sir, globally now this is a practice to come online and manage everything, and you should now look at it. So with the initial resistance, we are now seeing there is a change that is happening. But yes, like I said, we are still small. As we grow big, I think we'll be having a bigger impact on this on the ecosystem.
I think that's another great thought to sort of lead with. And the idea that comes from this is that, of course, there are challenges, there will be challenges, but at the end of the day, you're still willing to dive into it head first and say that, okay, fine, I'm here to sort of reverse the trend now. And on that note, I sort of want to ask you that what's next for Legal Card? Since since you very modestly mentioned that y'all are a small startup, so what's next for the company? Is there a 5-year plan? Is there a 3-year plan? Is there even a 10-year plan? And have there been challenges and adaptations for the brand and for the business as per COVID-19?
Yes. So when it comes to making a plan like a 5 year or 10-year plan, I think it is good for the governments to make that kind of plan, and let them make 5 year plans. We are a company. We are a couple of young people wanting to do something in our life, want to change the world, want to make a dent in the universe. These are the ambitious thoughts that we have. And let me tell you that, and it's just offline to what we are discussing. I am an avid flyer also, so I fly model aeroplanes, and that's my passion. The challenge when you fly a model airplane is it's not a toy, number one. Although it's a small plane, but it flies like a real plane, and when it crashes like a real plane. And flying requires a training, and you cannot be 100% sure of a safe landing every time. Now this has taught me a lot. I cannot plan like that, every time I'll be flying this much and then I'll be landing and coming home back safely. I think 50% of the time I crashes, I broke the planes, and then I come back and I repair, and then I can again go back. See, this whole process made me a person who is now, like, so used to of challenges, and solving the problems as they come. And probably I'm ready to solve almost every day a problem to build the system back again on the track. It also helped me to learn from the smallest mistakes that I make. So I have been flying now from 10 years, but still I crash. And every time there is a new problem, and every time there is a unique challenge that I see, oh my god, that was the mistake that I did, and I have to go back. I work on that problem, and then I go back to the flying field. So this has now become a part of my personality, so to say, or it has become a part of my philosophy that I know there will be challenges, there will be crashes, there will be issues that will be coming up on a daily basis. Whatever and however I'm prepared for, there will be a fiasco that's going to happen. So like I said, we don't have 5 year 10 year plan, but what we have in our mind is to create an impact on the legal system of the country. We would like to create an ecosystem where every stakeholder in this will be interacting with each other, and everybody's problem should be solved. It's not just the consumer, but the lawyer, the courts, the individual, and for a company like us, we should be able to help each other and grow together. That's the whole idea. So, this is the whole thought with which the whole legal card team is now walking ahead.
That's awesome. And, I sincerely hope that this sort of mentality, this sort of philosophy is continuing so far that it has. It sort of, goes on into the future as well, because we need this sort of a determination. We need this sort of, ambition if we are to make a change in the sector. And I think you're just on the right track. And I wish you all the best with that. And now coming to, my next question is that if you were to look at things from a more macro perspective, and that macro perspective should include legal cloud, of course, what have been, according to you, the major milestones in the legal startup space? Of course, legal cart is something that you've sort of built from the ground up, so you would obviously know the kind of challenges you've faced, and the mountains you've scaled, and of course the success stories you've had. But if you were to look outside the ambit of legal cart as well, have there been major milestones in this space, and what's more to come in terms of an opportunity in the Indian legal startup ecosystem space?
Sure. So I think the whole legal system is now going through an overhaul, right? And in past 2 to 3 years, I mean, since 2017 and 18, and I think before that as well, the e-court project by the Supreme Court and the high courts of the country, where now they have made all the documentation, all the judgments, and all the proceedings of the court online, and the updates are coming online, is some huge change in the Indian legal system, where now every single judgment, every single proceeding is now available online. I think the second big thing is in the process only, where the committees are now planning to stream the proceedings of the court online, right? This is the litigation and the court part of law. But apart from this, there were companies who build their database, who build their technology around the judgment research part. So research is something which is a very big piece when it comes to litigation. So every lawyer need to go through a legal research before he prepare for a case. So a lot of things have happened in legal research, in the legal technology field. The third important thing has now taking place is the digital signature and the paperless transactions of legal papers, be it an agreement or an affidavit, or going forward, probably courts will also start accepting. They have already started accepting online petitions, and it will become much more online when they stop taking physical copies of the petitions. So when everything becomes paperless, that will going to open the avenues for companies like us and other startups who are working in the field of online documentation and digital signature space, which is going to change the way people used to deal. So like, let me tell you that more than 1 billion pages are consumed almost every year in just Supreme Court. So you can imagine the kind of consumption of pages that happened across the courts across the country. Everything will become once online, and it becomes paperless. We can imagine the kind of saving that is there, that is going to be there on environment point of view as well. And I think the fourth important thing that is there now is basically the virtual legal offices for lawyers. So now there is a that's what we are doing. That's what many other technology companies are also planning to do. That right from onboarding a client till the court hearing and the judgment has been passed, all the documentation, transactions, hearings should happen virtually, online only. And once that start happening, I mean, we can see a lot of efficiency that will come in our legal system. Currently, 35 million cases are pending across courts in the country, right? That pendency will go down. The pendency is there for the simple reason that some or the other reason, either a lawyer is absent or a judge is absent, or there is something which is holding a case. Once everything goes online, I mean, there is no reason for them to make the hearing and finally pass the judgment on that matter and dispose of the matter. So there will be the pendency of the cases will go really down, and the dialogue that we used to hear, tarik pe tarik, tarik pe tarik, that will then become absolutely redundant, because then there will be no tarik. Whenever there is a hearing, you will be sitting at your home, appearing in the court, and the matter will move on. So the evolution is on its way, and I think the bigger part has already started, where the online services, the online hearings, the online documentation have started, right? And very soon, I think we will be having the whole ecosystem becoming online here.
All right, brilliant. First of all, great callback to that very famous dialogue, and very interesting take on how things are going to shape up in the future. And with the kind of determination and ambition that you have, I'm sure Legal Cart will just be at the helm of it and will be inspiring a lot more entrepreneurs, will be inspiring a lot more businesses to take this up. And before I close the podcast, Arvind, I just wanted to know what would be your closing remarks, number one, and what would be your two bits to sort of, give to the entrepreneurs who are looking to enter in this space, considering they can, of course, look up to you as a source of inspiration. That since you took an initiative with Legal Card of coming into a space which you feel was unorganized, which was fragmented, and now you've made a successful business out of it. So, what would be your 2 cents to the entrepreneurs who are looking to enter this space?
Sure, Sahib. So, I also read a lot of good words written by good authors, and there is a very small couplet by Mr. Nida Fazli, and that says it all. I don't need to give more gyan about it, but it says that हम भी दरिया हैं, हमें अपना हुनर मालूम है, जिस तरफ भी चल पड़ेंगे रास्ता हो जाएगा. So anybody and everybody just know your potential and start walking in that direction. सारी चीज अपना आप होती चली जाएगी.
That's, I think, a wonderful thought to sort of close this podcast with. Great words, of course, coming from someone who draws inspiration from them and has been translating that inspiration into credible, great work and trying to make a change into the system. Arvind, once again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure to host you.
Thank you so much, Saib. It was a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
So, for those listening to our podcast for the first time, do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and like and share this episode as well on your social media. Do let us know what interesting takeaways you have from this particular episode. Do check out our other episodes on our podcast series, Out of the Pod, and our other podcast series, Everything Business, on thebrief.co.in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Sahib Singh, signing off.